Hello there, this is Tony Mills in rainy, windy Milford-on-Sea this morning. And I'm going to talk about sciatica. And I think the weather will be about the last thing you think about when you have sciatica, to be perfectly honest, as it's not much fun. And it keeps on reminding us about things. Now, I used to be an osteopath, and so I've seen the mechanical side of it. Now I'm in energetic wisdom, and I work more on the metaphysical side of the spine. If we go back to start with the physical anyway, I mean, the sciatic nerve is the biggest nerve in the body. It's the longest and it's the thickest. So you can understand it being prone to being affected. So the sciatic nerve is pressurized in some way or other, either by what they call a slip disc, which is not a disc slipping out. Okay, it's actually the intervertebral disc is like a sponge in between as a cushion, and it squeezes like toothpaste against the sciatic nerve. And also that may not be just that one area that's causing it. It could be the piriformis muscle, which is in your bum, and the sciatic nerve goes right next to the piriformis muscle. So if there's any inflammation, it inflames that nerve. But with some people, the nerve grows right through the middle of that muscle. So you can imagine what happens there. So we've got, if you realize that it cannot just the usual symptoms of pain down the back of the leg, it can affect the whole leg, it can affect the foot, it can affect the pelvis. So there's a lot of areas that it can affect down the leg. Okay. So sciatica, if we go to sciatica in general, there's a lot of pressure. If you think about it, anything, everything is so literal. Okay, there's two things here. There's inflamed and feeling pressurized. Those things. So inflammation in an area can put pressure on a nerve, and physical pressure, like a slip disc, can create some pressure as well. So there's going to be a pressure in someone's life, and you may carry, may sometimes, there's a kind of being hypocritical. No, hypocrisy with yourself. Okay, the hypocrisy with yourself, rather, is doing things that you really don't want to do, or saying things that you feel you should, but you don't really believe it. Okay. So this is being hypocritical. It's got a lot to do with communication. I mean, everything's to do with communication, I find. When you say your truth, a lot of things change. But sometimes we don't. We feel sometimes emotionally or physically invaded by the family, or accepting ourselves as a family scapegoat with no right to speak up. So this is that communication thing. And of course, if you block communication, you build up some anger and rage. That feeling is inflammation. You're feeling inflamed. But being a nice person, you don't think you should be expressing that. So the body says, right, or your higher self says, I'll show you how you can express it and how I can remind you. Sometimes we can pressurize ourselves to get things done and perhaps overload ourselves with work. So this is another way of talking to us, is to give that pain to slow us down. And you can get this same situation with people with ME and chronic fatigue, is that they are pushing themselves. And it comes from not believing they're good enough, okay? Right from childhood. And they push and they push, and in the end, they're exhausted with all the effort. Well, this is the same that your higher self says, hey, don't pressurize yourself, don't push yourself so much. So it has a means of telling you to stop. And so what do? Okay, we take painkillers. And what does that do? That covers it up. So then you can carry on pushing and pushing yourself. So that's why very often sciatica can go on for a long time. It's just that you once you feel a bit better, you're off again, okay, with that same program of having to prove yourself. You know, there's some people who even have to present themselves as big on the outside because they feel small inside. That's another one. What you can realize behind great achievers, there's always that insecurity and feeling of inferiority, of having to prove yourself. You get that with high achievers, you get that with perfectionists. But the point is, why are you doing this? That's the point. It's because you feel you've got to prove yourself. But what you're really looking for? You're looking for love and approval. That's it. You're desperately looking for love and approval, because even if you achieve something, that may still not appear. Okay, you may still not have that love and approval, because that's our ultimate. That's for all of us. That's what we're looking for. It just has different means of communicating with us. That first of all, that you don't love and approve of ourselves, that we're worthless. All these things are programs we've inherited from childhood. So the pressure on the disc is our own pressure, feeling pressured. Okay. There can be kind of a lost in indecision, feeling overwhelmed and alone in the world, because the lower back is to do with support. And if you don't feel supported, you may be supporting everyone and everything in the world. Okay. But if you don't feel supported by this universe, then that would be reflected in your lower back. You can take on too much load. You can on your shoulders. Okay. So the back takes you. There's sometimes a correlation here with shoulders and lower back, because that is responsibility. Okay. And it's taking on too much load. So if you carry the big load, very often the shoulder is going to affect it, or your lower back is going to be affected. This is how literal it is. So your body forces you to take it easy. And really, this is what it wants you to do. The taking it easy is not just lying. At one time, with slip disc or sciatica, the doctor's recommendation was go to bed. Okay. Well, what happens there when you just go to bed is there's inflammation in that area. Okay. And then also, so it doesn't move. You're just lying there. So, so it's like a traffic jam. By moving, it starts to dissipate the inflammation. Okay, so that is a not a good idea just to lie there. Okay, that's the point. The rest really is up here. It's resting your pressure and stop pressurizing yourself. Take it easier on yourself. Make it easier on yourself. Because one of the recommendations I find is actually movement is the last thing you want to do. But by moving, you're moving that inflammation away from that spot. The inflammation puts pressure on a nerve. That's another thing. Okay, so painkillers are just a cover up, just like shooting the messenger, right? You may kind of carry certain grudges towards certain people and refuse to submit to someone or an idea. There may be a certain stubbornness there. And sometimes we've got to look at that. I understand stubbornness because, you know, I've been there. So we have to look at stubbornness, because that also holds us in a spot. Okay, and grudges are great with stubbornness. They work really well together, and so things don't move, and you can have sciatica, going for a long time, or going and coming back because nothing is moving. Okay. Now we could go specific. We usually in this case with sciatica, it's relates to the sacral chakra. Okay. This is very often the 4th and 5th lumbar disc and the sacrum. Okay, and the actual disc talks to us. The intervertebral disc between the 4th and 5th lumbar has a specific message. It's a bit unfair, I think, that we have all these messages are there, and this is what I do. I work and find out the messages, and we can actually, by understanding and working with the message, the pain is no longer needed. That was its main purpose, believe it or not, was to express these particular feelings. And that's why I work in this metaphysical way to clear them, so that the pain is no longer needed to be expressed. So 4th and 5th lumbar, okay? So there is in the background not believing you have any right to any positivity of any kind, okay? These come from when we were children, very often. And we're left with these, not just feelings, but beliefs of our parents. And if you have any negativity in any parents, you can see how that will go through, not having the right to have any positivity of any kind. Okay. Also, in the 4th and 5th lumbar disc, life is getting less exciting. Okay. Even perhaps a bit dull. Well, I mean, slip disc will certainly liven it up for you, won't it? But not the way you want it. So things have to begin to move in that way too. You have to start realizing your value. And if we focus on not having a right to feel positive in any way, well, that will affect us. Okay. Right, so we've got now the 5th and the 5th vertebrae and the sacral disc. Okay. Now, when you're going further towards the sacral, there is a certain abuse sexually, I'd say, at a certain stage in your life. You've felt it or believed it, even if it hasn't happened. Okay, it may even be ancestral, but there's a feeling seduced and attacked by the universe, and you can even feel evil, being made to feel evil for having sexual feelings. Even you can imagine how that can affect your relationship, and it's not directly yours. Perhaps it's a parental thing. Perhaps it's an ancestral thing. And it even made to feel worthless. So this kind of, as goes right down to the base of the spine, this is our foundation. So we're living on that foundation of worthlessness, and that goes back to people having to prove themselves, and then you have to push yourself, and then you have to put pressure on your body because you're not supported. Okay. So you've got to support, but not only that, you support yourself, but you support everyone and the world. And I'm afraid this is a sacral chakra, it's a mother program, okay? And so if you're a mother or a grandmother, then immediately you're giving all your energy to your children, okay? Or even your worries, even if you're not with them, the worries will be your children. It doesn't matter what age they are, they're always your children. If you're 90 and they're 70, okay, they're still your children. So you take on other people's burdens. You may have your own problems as well. So but you're not being supported yourself. This is the important thing. You are not being supported, and that's very important. So all this goes back to value of some sort, and you don't want to feel overwhelmed and alone in this world. and you don't want to be hypocritical in any way towards yourself. Mostly you're doing things that you don't want to do, but you do them for others. But you can't say it, because this is to do with communication as well. You will not communicate because you haven't perhaps been given a voice by others when you were young. So it's time to say what you feel. That's you know, what could help a lot is to tell people. And if you tell people what they feel, it's the truth. And you don't say things because you don't want to upset them, but they're upsetting you, which is a bit crazy, really. So I have ways of working with these programs and releasing them so that you begin to appear in your amazing form without these heavy burdens that we carry. And if you want more information, if you go to my website, energetic-wisdom.co.uk, and you'll get more information there. I think I do a lot of appointments. I do appointments I've got 2 clinics in the New Forest here. And I also do most of them actually by distance now. It really works well. And you'll find you'll be reacting the same as if you're in this room with me. That is the amazing thing. And it's time for you to reappear here. I can work in distance as well, of course, in the clinics, and it really works well. I can help children. I've even got a blog. If you look at my blog on my website, it's 2 steps to healing. And this is very important because children are our future, and there's such a connection, especially with mothers and children. So this is important. So hi, those people who have been looking in here. Nice to see you join me. Good morning to you. Any questions, you can contact me on my website here on Facebook, or on my website. You can go there as well. And any time, any appointments, just contact me and we'll make appointments. There's the online appointments now. You can make it on online calendar, so that will work. You can email me. You can work through Facebook, whatever. But you don't deserve to carry on with this pain. And this is what I'm here for, is to release the pains in your life, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, or even spiritual. I mean, everything's pretty spiritual if you know, but behind it all. But it's the pain of our life we don't need. We have, it's something to grow. If we've got difficulties, we grow from them. Okay? And you'll find that all the things that got wrong in your life, in your past, you've grown from. But you don't need to suffer. That's the limit. And that's what I'm here for, to reduce this and make life a bit enjoyable, more enjoyable for you. So, okay, so all the best to you all, and nice. Next time, let's see what I'm going to talk about next time. I'll tell you what, if you've come up with some suggestions what I can talk about, and the ones with the most popular, I'll do that next week, okay? Right, okay. All the best to you all. Lots of love. Bye.